Hi, I'm Liberty Bailey, a marketing communication student from Bournemouth University and sister to a transgender brother. Naturally, this is why I've chosen to talk about transgender representations in advertising and highlight certain examples and scrutinise the ones that do not work, and crucially, understand if transgender individuals are represented accurately in marketing. So let's explore the origins. Blackburn found that in the 90s, marketing professionals had the bright idea to target LGBT consumers, as advertising that featured gay couples leapt onto mainstream media. Initially, these ads carried some political significance by arguing that LGBT consumers are just like you and me. Despite this sentiment, there was something, or rather someone, missing, as while the LGBT acronym signals inclusion, the T representing the transgender community has been largely excluded in advertising. A Pink News article stated that there are currently less than 0.3% of all adverts featuring a trans person. This is entirely unacceptable from the industry, as a lack of representation leads to trans individuals feeling as if there's something wrong with them, that they are freaks. Lukenbill argues that the LGBT market was only considered so desirable because of their believed status. Double income, no kids. While I could highlight how untrue this is, particularly because Hollybeat and Wells's research found that transgender people are 4 times more likely to live in poverty, more than anything else, it shows advertisers' disrespectful view of their audience. Consumers are seen as walking pound signs rather than people. Earlier this year, Starbucks brought out the What's Your Name advertising campaign that attempts to highlight the difficulties many transgender people face during their transition. While the ad won Channel 4's diversity in advertising and granted £1 million worth of airtime, does it actually represent trans people in a way they identify with? Well, yes, the advert does highlight some of the community struggles better, but the problem that myself and many of the trans community have with it is the ideology that a billion-dollar company is a life-changing element in a transgender person's life. Starbucks stated that the advert was inspired by real-life experiences, as they discovered that individuals find their stores a safe space to try out their new names when transitioning. But Starbucks are not the magic wand. Their goal as a business is to sell products to consumers and therefore only care about the transgender community if they are a consumer. Despite the ad message of acceptance, the transgender community are ultimately still pound signs to the company and simply not represented as they wish. In contrast, Pantene's Grow Strong ad campaign features representations of powerful women by using various diverse women in the public eye as ambassadors, one being transgender activist Paris Lees, to establish that a transgender woman is just that, an example of a powerful woman. Yet what truly makes this representation so powerful is that her trans identity isn't at the centre of the advert, her femininity is instead. Many consumers may not even realise they are seeing a representation of a transgender woman in this ad, which is ultimately what the community wants. Brands often create a large focus point on the transgender's transition if they include them at all in their advertising, but many individuals do not desire this. Blackburn's research established that consumers wanted more subtle LGBT representations because companies tend to gay-wash their approach. While this can create positive brand associations, it does not represent communities, like transgender individuals, accurately. Transgender individuals being represented as their transition sex in advertising is a rarity, but by representing them this way, like Pantene does, it could help to decrease transphobia within society. Chasen argues that since advertising creates culture through its representations, advertisers share some responsibility for portraying people correctly, and therefore brands should represent the transgender community correctly. Transgender people have been stigmatised as confused, unable to accept that they are really, in the case of trans women, men. To put it simply, they belong in a Victorian circus. The Office of National Statistics reported that in 2019, transgender identity-related hate crimes have increased by 16%. Their magazine also reports that 34 trans individuals have been killed this year. Imagine facing prejudice just for being your true self. Marketers have the power to change how society views trans individuals, as Shipper's parasocial contact hypothesis shows how direct contact isn't necessary, as mass media communication, like advertising, can change audiences' beliefs about minorities. We need to represent the transgender community fairly in advertising by moving away from focusing on their transition, as it creates a separation between them and trans and cisgender people. That way we can lay the stigma to rest. My brother once explained to me that his gender is not trans, his gender is male, as that is how he wishes to be seen. Many people tend to get caught up trying to define what transgender actually means, when the best approach is acceptance. Maybe marketers should listen to this.